Hello and welcome to Pulibrus' Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now today, well, as you may know, I promised that I was going to do a game. I was going to play a game, but as you can see, that doesn't seem to be the case, as you can tell by the thumbnail. You see, the game, like my recording software that I used to record it, kind of played my video game audio louder, so I just don't think that it would be wise to, play that. So, instead, we're going to be just doing the average stuff, but the topic is going to be, as you can tell by the thing, a bit of the news. So first, let's start off with the normal bit of news, and the first news we're going to start off with is something that I kind of like. The Rock rules out 2020 presidential run. The Rock has officially ruled out running for president during the 2020 election. The idea of the wrestler turned actor possibly running for president of the United States was first floated in 2016, and Dwayne Johnson began taking the idea seriously not that long after. Johnson has indefinitely ruled out it in the future, but 2020 is definitely off the table. Dwayne Johnson has been promoting his latest movie, Skyscraper, and then he basically went on a rant and said, "Unfortunately, I don't see this happening in 2020. It's a position that requires years of hard work and experience to learn the skills. There's a lot of ground to cover, and due to my schedule, it's not possible in 2020. I have so much respect for the position. It's something that I strongly consider. What I need is to go out and learn." Now, this is something that was always bugging me since the 2016 election. Literally ever since the 2016 election, literally every single celebrity has been like, people have had their eye on them to run for president in 2020. Kanye West, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Some make sense, like Ben Shapiro, and maybe if you said Mark Ruffalo, I believe you, because Mark Ruffalo is rather interested in the political sphere, and not just because of like, oh, I vote Democrat, we fight against racism, hashtag stop racism, but he has also done extensive looks into the Eugene V. Debs and other political figures that I guarantee you no so-called liberal in Hollywood knows who the heck Eugene V. Debs is. But Mark Ruffalo, yeah, he knows who he is. And and it looks like he loves him. And I'm just glad that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's not going to be a candidate in 2020, because now we can focus on the actual candidates that are running. Like, it's one thing I kind of shame Kyle Kalinske for. He hasn't really been covering individuals who have officially announced that they're running. He's only covered individuals that might run. We need to stop focusing on the mights. When they announce they want to run, they'll run. If we need to focus on the ones who. Have you noticed that, like, here's the thing, have you noticed that Andrew Yang or Ryan Farber, who are the two people I'm endorsing for president in 2020 until Bernie Sanders officially announces he's running, like, those two have really gotten no media coverage despite the fact that they're open candidates running for the office. The only candidates that are running in 2020 that have actual media attention are Adam Kokesh and Donald Trump himself. Because Kokesh has his own YouTube channel where he keeps advertising, "I'm running for president," hashtag just kidding, "I'm running for not president." But anyways, that's enough of that. Now, the next story. Judge boots Green Party from Montana ballot in boost to tester. A Montana judge has ordered the state of elections officials to remove the Green Party from the November ballot to boost Senator Jon Tester in his bid for re-election. Helena District Court Judge James Reynolds invalidated some of the signatures the Green Party backers submitted to the Secretary of State's office, either because the signatures did not match those on file, or because they did not match a registered voter, or because of improper signature gathering practices. Now, whether or not the accusation here is true or not is, well, it's possible that the story is true, that he didn't properly. But then again, it's a common thing to say when you see another candidate. it wouldn't surprise me if this whole story turned out to be fake and that the Democratic Party was just saying this, the Green Party wouldn't be on the ballot. Because they're, like, very, very mad at third-party opposition. Anytime a third-party candidate even slightly tries to resemble the neoliberal platform or tries to appeal to progressive voters, they go, spoiler, he's a spoiler, get rid of him. This has happened to Nader, this has happened to Stein, this has happened to Cobb, this has happened to McKinney. They just point at you and just call you a spoiler. Now, the spoiler myth itself is, of course, not entirely true, but, I seem to be the only one who thinks that. But anyways, the next story, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just won a primary she didn't even enter. She must be getting so tired of winning. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has won the second primary without even knowing she was a candidate. Her whirlwind rise to fame comes after a shocking June 26th victory over 10-term Democratic incumbent Representative Joe Crowley in New York's 14th Congressional District. On Tuesday, the Reform Party in New York's 15th Congressional District, which neighbors the 14th District, held a write-in primary election, and Ocasio-Cortez won 9 of its 22 write-in votes. Even though she was not a candidate, according to the New York Daily News, she beat the current 15th District Rep. Jose Serrano, who was first elected in Congress in 1990. She actually made a tweet saying how, shockingly, and I'm told this is not a joke, we have also won a primary in the neighboring 15th Congressional District via a write-in campaign on the reform line. While I am honored that so many Bronxites are excited for our campaign, I'll remain the Dem nominee in New York 14. It's actually, Ocasio-Cortez is she's rising. People love her. Granted, many people are trying to either smear her as a socialist or say, no, she's just like a normal neoliberal like me. They don't understand her platform. But this is also getting in some trouble from a both likely opponent and unlikely opponent. From the New York Times, Ocasio-Cortez highlights how third-party quirks can muddle elections. Ocasio-Cortez's political star has risen so high she can win a primary election without even trying, or apparently not even knowing. This goes into, the reform, blah, blah, blah. And then, but here's the thing, the Women's Equality Party and the Working Families Party in New York, they run their own campaign for primaries. Now, here's the thing. They usually these two parties, the Women's Equality Party was just created by Andrew Cuomo so he could, in case he loses the Democratic primary or the Working Families primary, he could still be on the ballot in two parties. Now, the Working Families Party is just kind of independent from the Democratic Party, but they usually just endorse Democratic candidates. Now, in Ocasio-Cortez's district, the Working Families line was won by Joe Crowley, who, just decided, they were just like, hey, he's going to be the guy who wins the election anyway, so I might as well endorse him over Ocasio-Cortez, which is usually something they don't do, which is kind of shocking. Usually they endorse the progressive alternative, then they endorse the neoliberal. Like in the 2016 election, they endorsed Sanders first, and then they endorsed, Hillary Clinton. And for the New York gubernatorial race, they endorsed Cynthia Nixon, and then they might endorse Andrew Cuomo if she does not win the nomination. There's the chance. But since Ocasio-Cortez won, the Working Families Party just went to the Joe Crowley campaign and said, hey, since she won, can you GTFO? Now, let's say you lose epically in your primary against the progressive alternative. Say you do that. What would normally you'd think? You'd normally think that if you just lost so epically, you would just leave. But Joe Crowley's response was simple. No. So Joe Crowley will apparently be, unless they can do something, he'll remain on the ballot as the Working Families Party ticket. And, you know, like his name will be on the ballot in November. Now, this contains both problems and ironies with the Democratic Party. Possible problem for Ocasio-Cortez. You know, since she's the newcomer, the casual New Yorker might just go, Joe Crowley, he's the guy who's been here for a while. I'll just select his name. That might be a problem. But there's a sweet taste of irony. A sweet, sweet taste of irony. Because, you know, Democrats are usually the ones that cry immediately when another Democrat decides to go third party. They go like, you're trying to spoil the election for us. Well, guess what? Now Crowley's the quote-unquote spoiler. Isn't this irony just tasty, just delicious? And he's also shunned her multiple times and never actually officially conceded the election. Just a heads up. So technically, Crowley's still in the race. That leads into a lot of problems for Cortez if this, you know, like, I'm not one to say immediately spoil a controversy, but I'm just saying, like, you know, Crowley's a more well-known individual, and Ocasio-Cortez is a rising star, and that's one small problem that has been called into attention. Call him out. Like, she's calling him out, like, decently enough, but she's not just calling out him, like, she's not calling out any of the other Democratic establishment, like Nancy Pelosi. If you wanted to make a name for herself, call out Pelosi. Pelosi hates your guts. She just pretends to like you. Remember, she's the one who said that your, you know, election was a fluke. Said that your election was nonsense. Said that your election was, you know, nothing. That, well, causes a lot of issues. Now that she's actually going to be moving on to the primary, moving on in November, I think that she needs to move on with the election. Move forward. Fuck Crowley. But anyways, now moving on to the party of the day. The party of the week, or I should say, the party that we're going to be discussing this week is the Modern Whig Party. Ooh, that's cool. Now, of course, the Modern Whig Party is trying to harken to the Old Whig Party. So let me explain to you a bit about it. The Modern Whig Party is a political party in the United States founded in 2007. The party describes itself as a mainstream, middle-of-the-road, grassroots movement representing the voters who do not strictly accept Republican or Democratic positions. The party's general platform supports fiscal responsibility, strong national defense, and integrity and pragmatism in government. Members of the party have won a handful of local elections, but did so under other party labels or as independents. In recent years, the party has not nominated candidates for any major office. The Modern Whig Party underwent a major overhaul in its structure and leadership in late 2014 and relaunched in the spring of 2015. Wikipedia classifies their ideology as conservative liberalism, which is the conservative wing of the liberal movement, you know, and its founding was, they were founded by a bunch of U.S. troops while they were in the deserts of Iraq and the mountains of Afghanistan, which is something I have to slightly asterisk with. It's like, really? You actually, like, literally while gunfire was like, you were just like, yeah, you know what we should do? We should form a political party harkening back to the Whig Party. Who's with me? Yeah! Now you may say, well, that's a bit mean. Well, yeah, but, you know. And apparently they have some media coverage, like, and it seems that it says here in the spring of 2020, Time magazine rated the Modern Whig Party, the U.S. Marijuana Party, the Pirate Party, and the Tea Party, and American Secessionists as the top 10 popular alternative political movements worldwide. Now, that's slightly off-putting, because it's like, wait, these guys, aren't these like, these are, yeah, none of those parties are really big time. None of those, I do research about these parties literally every day. None of those parties are really big. None of them really have the, platform and bigness of, say, the Libertarian Party or the Constitution Party or the Whig, not the Whig Party. Well, the older Whig Party used to have that kind of strength. They don't have that anymore. Yeah. Well, it kind of stinks for them. Franklin, like, the Whig Party also has, like, many symbols. The most common symbol that you will use for them would be the modern Whig Party, specifically, not the older Whig Party. The older Whig Party didn't seem to have any symbols. The modern Whig Party, their symbols include Zachary Taylor, to hearken with the Whig Party's roots, specifically Taylor in his military uniform, because, they were founded by a bunch of veterans. The most common symbol will be the owl, although another symbol will be like a raccoon, because they steal votes. I'm just messing around. The Whig Party seeks to aim more to conservative Democrats rather than, moderate Republicans, because moderate Republicans, they would just want to go to the Libertarian Party. Rand, anyways, well, Rand isn't a moderate Republican. I'm just saying, Rand, there's a party out there with your name on it. Your daddy bred you for this party, Rand. It's right there. I'm just saying. Funny I mentioned Rand. We're going to be getting into slightly him in the future. But anyways. Let me see. There are two major candidates of the Whig Party that I'll actually mention. One is T.J. O'Hara. He was a turnaround expert and strategic consultant of California. He was a candidate for the modern Whig, he was an independent that ran for the modern Whig Party in 2012. Like, the modern Whig Party endorsed his candidacy, so he pretty much just put that label on his campaign. He was on the ballot. He had a ballot access in, 10 states? He had 67 electoral votes. He had ballot access to 67 electoral votes. And, well, as you may know, his campaign did not do incredibly well. I mean, his campaign was kind of on the scales, he was not that well. He was not a Rocky Anderson. He was not a Mitt Romney. Now, I nearly forgot. He was the candidacy of, Buddy Roemer, an individual who was a moderate Republican, who ran for the presidency in 2012, who actually participated in a debate with the moderate or libertarian-leaning Republicans, such as Gary Johnson and Fred Krager. Is it Krager or Karger? The gay guy who ran for the Republican nomination and was not invited to a single debate. But anyways, he wanted to, when he ran his campaign in 2012 and then left the Republican Party to go run for the Reform Party, and then when that didn't work, he actually contacted the modern Whig Party for support. And, well, they clearly didn't get back to him. T.J. O'Hara was clearly the one who won the nomination. Now, there's only one more individual who I want to go into. Robert Bulakowitz. He was a Philadelphia resident who was elected as the first Whig in 160 years. He ran for he was running for he was running as an electoral judge, a judge that looks over elections. He ran, he didn't get that many votes. He was his Democratic opponent got 24 votes and he got 36. And well, he ran his campaign very simple. He had a simple campaign, going door to door, doing that usual jazz. He just do what he normally do. Go door to door. Tell people about his platform. And, well, he ended up winning his election. Wikipedia and other sources, I can't find any source that say that he lost his election or lost his position, so I hope he's still in his position. I'd love to talk to him and interview him, because maybe bring to his attention that the Democratic Party is the centrist party, so he doesn't have to go with the Whigs. But, now, as early as this may be, we're going to be getting into the main topic of the video. The main topic being Brett Kavanaugh, who you may know is the person that is currently announced to be the current nomination for Donald Trump's Supreme Court, justice, his second Supreme Court justice for Merrick Garland, because Merrick Garland, well, Merrick Garland, I really have no opinion on him, but I mean, my only opinion about him is, Obama should have been able to run his nominee, but he was too much of a pussy. Okay. Now, I'm going to be going into a little bit about him. I'm going to go into a little in depth about him, because you as much like me might not know who he is. So we're kind of learning at the same pace. I know a little bit more about him because I tried to record this episode like 3 times beforehand, and I had some chance to briefly skim over a lot of his positions, and had certain sources show me some of the things that he's for and against. Brett Kavanaugh is a United States Circuit Judge of the United States Court of Appeals and District of Columbia Circuit. He was previously White House Staff Secretary during the presidency of George W. Bush. Kavanaugh has been nominated to become an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. An attorney working for Ken Starr, Kavanaugh played a large role in the drafting of the Starr Report, which urged the impeachment of President Bill Clinton. Kavanaugh led the investigation into the suicide of Clinton aide Vince Foster, and after the 2000 presidential election, in which Kavanaugh worked for the George W. Bush campaign in the Florida recount, Kavanaugh joined Bush's staff, in which he led the Americans' effort to identify and confirm judicial nominees. He was nominated to the D.C. Court of Appeals by Bush in 2003, and, they're just checking to see, are you an objective judge? Now, he was, as you may know, right now he's just been nominated. So we're going to go into a bit of his, positions and views and opinions. Now, they have and have not been, I knew personally going in that I was not going to be getting that many, I was going to be getting a Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Is that her name? I wasn't going to be getting a good justice that I was going to agree with a lot. I wasn't going to be getting a justice that I was like, yes. That would be like, yes, Trump. Yes, you did it. But I was going to be getting a conservative judge. The question is, how conservative is he? Now, first, we're going to be getting into actually, I'm not going to get into the hot topic yet. I'm going to be going into the other things that he ruled on, and you'll see why in a minute. The Affordable Care Act. In November 2011, Kavanaugh dissented in the 7-Sky v. Holder when the D.C. Circuit Court upheld the Patent Protection and Affordable Care Act, arguing the court did not have jurisdiction to hear the case. In his dissent concerning jurisdiction, he compared the individual mandate to a tax. After a unanimous panel found that the ACA did not violate the Constitution's Origination Clause and the Cecil v. United States Department of Health and Human Services, Kavanaugh wrote a lengthy dissent in the form of denial at hearing en banc. So basically, his opinion on, the Affordable Care Act is that it's unconstitutional. That was his opinion. He thinks the Affordable Care Act is unconstitutional. Now, it's not. Well, it's just not. That just doesn't seem likely. He also ruled against secularism in a Religious Freedom Restoration Act, I believe so. He ruled against the Postal Service in a First Amendment thing. He found that the free speech clause did not forbid the government from requiring meat packers to include a country of origin label on their products. Kavanaugh dissented in a case about gun control. He wrote for a divided panel striking down the Clean Air Act regulation and Supreme Court of reversed 6-2 in EPA versus EME. So basically he believes that environmental regulation is unconstitutional. He dissented when the circuit found that the Constitution's appointment clause did not prevent Sarbanes-Oxley from creating a board whose members were not directly removable from the president. He found that those directly regulated by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau could challenge the constituency of its design. Basically he's against the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He dissented on the United States Telecom ASIN versus FEC. He rejected net neutrality rule. He rejected a net neutrality rule. He pretty much ruled out a lot of the things I like. But now, the main topic of, the main thing that's on everybody's minds, abortion. Roe v. Wade. Here it is, word for word, his Roe v. Wade stances. During his confirmation hearing in 2006 for the D.C. Circuit, Kavanaugh stated that he considered Roe v. Wade binding under the principle of stare decisis and would follow the ruling of a higher court. However, he also ruled in favor of abortion restrictions in several cases. In the 2017 siege, Kavanaugh landed Justice William Rehnquist in dissenting in Roe v. Wade, stating that the Rehnquist believed an unmediated right to abortion would have to be rooted under the traditions and conscience of our people, given the prevalence of abortion regulations both historically and at the time. Rehnquist said that he could not reach such a conclusion about abortion. Kavanaugh joined an unsigned divided panel opinion which found that the Office of Refugee Resettlement could prevent an unaccompanied alien minor in its custody from obtaining an abortion. Days later, the en banc D.C. Circuit reversed that judgment, in which Kavanaugh is now dissenting. Kavanaugh also ruled that all parties in this case recognize Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey as precedents and we must follow. The D.C. Circuit's opinion was that itself vacated in the Supreme Court in Garza v. Oregon. So, pretty much, his stance on abortion is, he's just for, he's quote-unquote for against it. Pretty much he's against abortion, but he's not going to, go to court just to fight you on abortion. He's just not going to do that. Or at least that's what he says. Basically he says, it's law now. You can't change the law. The law is the law. We have to respect the courts and cases that have happened in the past. Now, this can be a good or bad thing, considering sometimes the Supreme Court ruled against certain things, they ruled against Eugene V. Debs in his Supreme, case. Now, but it can be a good thing, because it means good cases such as Roe v. Wade seem to be off the table with him. Now, despite that, it's the thing that people are loudest about when they talk about Brett Kavanaugh. That's a problem I have. Did you not hear anything else I said? I told you about all the other stuff before I talked about abortion because arguably those things were more important. He actually has dissenting opinions on net neutrality. He has dissenting opinions on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He has dissenting opinions on a lot of things that are just not worth dissenting. And yet, people are not paying attention to that, and are wondering if he's going to ban abortion. Now, of course, banning abortion would be concerning for me. I believe that a woman needs to have the right to choose, but you also can't deny that a lot of these other issues also are rather important. Now, to some of you, it may not be important, because some of you may be pro-life, but, you know, it's important to me, and it's important to a lot of Americans, this issue. Now, of course, you know, just normal, it's just how it is. A lot of Americans view the issue of abortion to be very important. Either they're importantly against it, or they're importantly for it. But, you know, overall, we have ruled that abortion is important. It is basically the rule of whether or not a woman is allowed to do something with her body. Now, there's another thing that's been on people's mind, given the recent given the recent nomination. It's a game that everybody likes to play. The game is called Who's Gonna Flip Their Vote? Da-da-da-dun, da-dun-da-dun, da-dun-da-dun. Greetings, every single American. Today we're gonna be playing the game Who Will Flip Their Vote? We're going to be going over some senators that have recently flipped their votes on a lot of these cases, whether they because they're being moderate Republicans, conservative Democrats, or corporate Democrats. Wow. Who will it be? Will it be Susan Collins, one of the most moderate Republicans in the Senate? Or Lisa Murkowski, another very moderate conservative in the Congress? Or will it be number 3, 4 or 5 Democrats? That's a tweet that I made. It's a tweet that I made predicting who's going to, you know, vote for or against something. Like, because there have been a lot of things that have been trying to, like, because people are getting mad about this Supreme Court nominee, whether it be because he's Trump's Supreme Court nominee or because they're really honestly concerned about certain issues. Now, the reason why I brought that up is because those are some individuals that are, most people believe that it is literally just Collins and Murkowski that are truly the swing votes, much like Anthony Kennedy was the swing vote in the Supreme Court. Tied it all back. But anyways, naming people like, oh, they're just moderate conservatives. Everyone else is just clear as day. All the Democrats are going to oppose it. All we need to do is flip these 2 Republicans to get this. All the Democrats are going to be against him. All the independents are going to be against him. And it's just going to go. Well, if you've been paying attention to a lot of certain Senate rulings, like I have, you would know that's not entirely the case. And I'm going to bring up the most prevalent example to date. It's something that I think, honestly, everybody needs to hear, because it seems that nobody seems to pay attention to this. There's a high chance Mr. B probably know about it, because, well, you might know why in a second. The recent ruling on the Senate bill, H.R. 5515, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2019, it was a bill that basically said that we're going to give $717 billion to the United States military to increase the military budget. Billions. Keep in mind, Bernie Sanders' free college bill was $65 billion. People looked at me like I was crazy when I suggested, that kind of thing could be plausible. They're like, what are we going to pull $65 billion out of? Well, we pulled $717 billion out of somewhere. So, yeah, this bill is really easy to not fuck up. Anything that is, like, here's literally the thing. If you're an anti-war candidate, anything relating to the military-industrial complex that involves giving money or sending troops, the vote should automatically be no. And, well, this bill has had... Let's start off in the House. The House was more divided than the Senate. In the House, the bill had 66 people vote against it. 66 people. Now that may seem like... Oh, that doesn't seem like much, but remember, there's like 400 people in the House. So, it's not as good as you may think. Some individuals that are noteworthy, like individuals that I'm like, there are some that are, I actually went through the entirety. I went through GovTrack and VoteSmart and personally wrote down every single person who voted against it, because I'm going to include all their names in the description because they should be named. Some House members that voted against it are obvious, like Tulsi Gabbard, Ro Khanna, Raul Grijalva. It's like no surprises there. And there are also some no surprises on the Republican side. Yes, I said Republican side because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Republicans in the House voted against it, including Walter B. Jones Jr. of North Carolina and Justin Amash, 2 noteworthy libertarian-leaning Republicans in the House. There are a lot more. Their names will be in the description, but one more, but the one that is clearly the worst, the one that I'm actually going to go in depth into, is the Senate votes, because the Senate votes are a lot more, not divided, but technically yes, more divided, but they're not really that good, because you know how many people voted against it in the Senate? 10. Not 10 Democrats. 10 overall. 10 individuals voted against this bill. You see why I'm not a Democrat anymore? This is not a hard bill. Increase military budget or no. Our military budget is through the freaking roof. Why the heck do we need to spend more on it? Why are we adding $717 billion to the military budget? We don't need that much money to go in the military. Now, 10 senators had the guts to look at them and say, you know what? No, I'm not going to vote for this bill. I give these 10 senators props, even if I don't like them. And let me explain why. These are the 10 senators that voted no. And I know if you're a political junkie out there, you may already have some names in your head on who's like, these are probably the ones who voted against it, right? You may be surprised. I'm going in the order of how many people of each political affiliation were in there. So, first I'm going to start with the ones that had the most people vote against it. And then I'm going to end it with the people who had the least amount of political affiliation next to it. So, first, Dianne Feinstein. Now, her vote is actually really shocking because, she's usually the conservative, hawkish Democrat. So, I really didn't see this vote coming in. I was like, wait, what? Okay, I gotta give you props on this, Feinstein. But still, I want your ass out and Kevin De Leon's ass in. Kamala Harris, which is half surprising, half not. Because, Kamala Harris, she, her thing was that she wanted, there's a lot of speculation on her running for president in 2020. And, literally every single member of the younger generation is anti-war. Well, not all of them, but, a good majority of them are anti-war. So, if a candidate who's usually pro-war starts voting anti-war, that's a kind of a sign that they're gonna, they're running for president. I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is anti-war. I don't know much about her personal voting record. But, I'm just saying, she seems to be trying to make herself look good for her run for a run in 2020 if she actually does run. I don't want to speculate on her running. If she announces that she's going to run, she'll run. Kirsten Gillibrand, someone who's actually been making a huge shift, because when she started in Congress, she was like really pro, like she was like diet Hillary Clinton pretty much, and now she's like Hillary Clinton 0. Like, now she's like, a lot of her votes don't align with Hillary at all, because it seems that she's trying to make herself look good for 2020 again. But we'll wait and see if that happens. Ed Markey, don't know much about him. Jeff Merkely, don't know much about him. And Ron Wyden, don't know much about him. All 3 Democrats. By the way, all the ones I mentioned before were all Democrats. I gotta give Markey, Merkely, and Wyden, even though I don't know much about him, I gotta give them all props. They voted not increasing the military budget. Now, the last Democrat that voted is, why don't you take a guess? Is it A, Cory Booker, or B, okay, you can stop laughing right now, it's obviously not Cory Booker, it's Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren. She, the girl. The one that makes me happy and sad at the same time. The one that's in the middle of being a corporate Democrat and being progressive. Like, she has me on Medicare for all. She has me on a lot of these things. She just doesn't have the backbone that I need. She just doesn't have the backbone. If she had more backbone, I'd gladly support her. I'd endorse her for her run for Senate. But I just can't. I think Elizabeth Warren, she doesn't need my support. A lot of other younger progressives support her. She doesn't need my support. She's fine. She's got this. But still, I gotta give you props where props are due. By the way, I just want to briefly mention, some things about that I don't like about Elizabeth Warren. Like, one, she's super okay with doing identity politics, which is like, Two, there's been a lot of controversy about her possible Native American heritage. I'm not going to question her being a Native American. There's a huge chance that she is. But, she seems to get so mad when people even question it. Or make fun of her for it. And she can't even say it's racist because she doesn't look Native American. Like I said, she's like a little too okay with doing identity politics. Which is just... ugh, I don't like that. But, she's like the Young Turks to me. On identity politics, it's like, I want them to just go, I just want them to shut the fuck up. Just want them to shut up. But then when they get to the actual substance of the matters, Medicare for all, free college and all that, $15 minimum wage, all that jazz. It's like, yes, you got me on that. But another thing that, like, Warren, she doesn't seem to be calling out a lot of Democratic heads. She doesn't call out a lot of Democratic heads and Democratic leaders. Like, she tried when she said that she openly saw that the Democratic primary was rigged against Bernie. And then all of a sudden she's like, nah, fam, I lied. No, it's not. It's like, Warren, you just had me. You just had me, woman. You had me. But, not every senator can be perfect. We learned that the hard way. My senators aren't perfect. My senators are Richard Burr and Tom Tillis. So I know that senators can't be perfect. But anyways, now we're going to move on to the Republicans that voted against this bill. Because believe it or not, there are Republicans And now the second I said Republicans, I know Mr. Beats' head just went. I know his, like, the light bulb in his head just went. Because, you know, he knows the two I'm talking about. The two individuals that voted against this were Mike Lee, Senator of Utah, and Rand Paul, Senator from Kentucky. You know, these are the two Republicans that are at least somewhat reliable on these kinds of issues. You know, these are ones that are like, you can trust them on this one. If you go to abortion, you're not going to trust them on anything. But if all the Republicans in America were Mike Lee, Walter B. Jones, and Rand Paul, do you know how smoothly a lot of these issues would be passed? Gay marriage, you know, all these issues would be just resolved quickly. You know, there might be some nitty-gritties on, you know, like, let's say you're an individual who wants the government to, you know, support, like you want the government to pass anti-discrimination laws. They might be against that, but here's the thing, like, they'll make it so that we get to the point where it's like, okay, now that we've made gay marriage legal, now we can bicker about should anti-discrimination laws exist or not. They'd be like, okay, let's get through these bills first. Like, I mean, not denying, we also gotta change all the Democrats to be progressive Democrats and not neoliberals, but, you know, we gotta get through that too. But anyways, and the last senator who voted against this bill is, I saved the best for last, Bernie Sanders, you know, the OG progressive himself. I mean, this bill could have been passed to him like a million times, and he would have voted no every single time. Like, that's literally all the things you gotta do. You got Bernie Sanders with the like that's the thing. You get Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Rand Paul and Mike Lee. Those are the guys that you can usually rely on any war bill, any bill that's relating to war or violence. They'll usually be reliable enough to vote no. But, you know, I brought this up because of the fact that, you know, like, I brought this entire bill up because of the fact that, as you may notice, there are substantial Democrats that voted for this bill. Like, substantial Democrats that voted for this bill. Cory Booker, Nancy Pelosi, my representative, David E. Price. Your ass is out soon, Price. As soon as a viable candidate comes to replace you, your ass is out. But, you know, those guys voted happily for this bill. They're like, yep, So, as you can see, Democrats aren't usually the most trustworthy when it comes to this. And I brought this all up because, remember, my prediction was, I put my money on that 4 or 5 Democrats were going to be voting against this bill. Not against this bill, but like voting against vote for, like split their votes and vote for the Brett Kavanaugh. And look at what we have here. The individuals who seem to be the most likely to flip their votes: Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Heidi Hitzkap, Joe Manchin, Joe Donnelly, and Doug Jones. Doug Jones. That guy. Remember like a whole year ago when Doug Jones was like running for Senate and everybody was making a big deal about his campaign because he was running against the super conservative child molester I was about to say Ron Paul for a second, Roy Moore. Again, allegedly. Asterisk, allegedly. And how people like super happy about his campaign winning and like, this campaign was about dignity and respect. Well, I did not support Doug Jones's campaign. Mostly because I didn't really care about his race, despite the fact that it was being plastered all over the news. But because, like always, he is a centrist. Another centrist runs for the Democratic Party. What a surprise. You see, I don't support centrist, period. I'm not a centrist, ergo I'm not going to support a centrist. Literally, you could put me against literally any other presidential, like just because Roy Moore was bad, but I'm not going to compromise my beliefs just because Roy Moore was pretty bad. Now, was there a progressive running against Doug Jones? I don't know. I haven't looked that in depth at Doug Jones' race because Doug Jones' race is over and I don't have to look over it. I really don't care about the race between Doug Jones and Roy Moore. Usually when something's placed all over the news, like the royal wedding, I usually don't really care that much. Even though, like presidential elections and elections in my state don't get national praise or national concern. Why can't North Carolina ever get national concerns and praise? I usually don't even have enough. Our state doesn't usually have enough people to even warrant, debates. That's the thing. That's a law that should be passed. We should pass a law that says that literally every single elected office needs to have at least one debate. Because I'm sick and tired of literally no single House of Representatives or there's a lot of Senate races that don't have debates. Or even debates in the debates in the general are usually happen. They don't even happen in the primary. Like John Wolfe Jr. complained about how Phil Bredesen hasn't debated him. Well, I guess it seems to be because it's not the law. It should be a law. Why should any elected office not have people know who's running? And don't give me that shit about how it's well, if it's a local election, you will know. Bullshit. I drive past a lot. I drive past a lot of roads and signs, and there are 5 different signs for even House of Representatives. It's these people are supposed to represent you in the United States federal government. Why don't you know them? Because people don't need to know them. People want to vote for the president. They want to vote for the guy on top. They don't care about the guys in the middle. I'm going to tell a little bit of a thing about Dan Avidan from the Game Grumps, who got slightly political on his show when he talked about how he was in college and was like doing a college course, and how he got super informed about the John Kerry versus George W. Bush election and cast his like first ballot, I think. And he explained, like, literally, it's like he goes inside and he's like, I cast one very informed vote and then like 17 not informed votes. Like, even back to when I was a kid, they did this whole thing where we would vote for, we would like did this mock election during the 2008 election, and it was like they had like a fake voting ballot for like Obama and McCain, and they literally told us, like, don't vote for the other guy, don't vote for any of the people below him, just vote for either Obama or McCain. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe the other offices were like the smaller offices, like, you know, House of Representatives, Senator, because I'm not sure that they had Ralph Nader as an option, because it would have been hilarious if, like, back in 2008, I was just trolling the people and just like, I vote for Ralph Nader, and then come to find out, like, when I'm 18 years old, it's like, oh, I'm avidly a fan of Ralph Nader and the Ralph Nader Radio Owl. Ralph Nader Radio Owl. The Ralph Nader Radio Hour. Now, the Ralph Nader Radio Hour, it's, well, I'll recommend that. I guess I can recommend that for a bit. Ralph Nader Radio Hour. A radio show about Ralph Nader, probably with some other hosts. I have yet to actually watch the show, but, you know, I'm going to watch 1 week's episode and see if it's good. If it's not, I just won't watch it anymore. I barely watch radio. I barely listen to radio anymore, really. I don't really listen to the radio at all. Talk radio has always been off my market. If I ever need to watch a radio personality, since I'm Gen Z, radio's really not my thing. It's a dying media format. I'm more of a podcaster, as you can tell. So, even Tom Hartman, I really don't listen to him on the radio. I only watch his live streams and his YouTube channel. So anyway, I guess this will do for the episode. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be notified when a future video comes out. And if you want to contact me, you can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Quora, go to my Facebook page, or even go to my website. And just for a special thing, you can leave questions or concerns through my email or through comments, and I may answer them in a future Fireside chat. Because I would like to actually do questions at the end of them all, but I guess the thing I'd actually like to do at the end, answer questions at the end of every episode. So every time a new episode comes out, you can just leave a different question. And hopefully people would leave more than one. Because, well, one question episode doesn't really do that well. And be sure to be on the lookout for the last episode of this year. Because it's going to be a doozy. I don't know why I'm advertising it this early in the year, but why not? I will be revealing to you a people I would have voted for in every single presidential election in United States history. Remember, that comes at the end of the year. I actually checked the calendar. December 31st will be on a Monday of this year. So yes, it will actually be the last day of the year. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Next week's episode, I don't know what it's going to be about because the news is yet to happen. If you want a topic, please leave me a suggestion in the comments below.